let's go. If you could gaze into the future.
Hi, I'm Abby A.C. Ham. I'm an independent author and huge Percy Jackson fan. Today I want to be discussing a popular phenomenon within the Percy Jackson fandom. But first, let me
set the scene. It was the Hoover Dam and I was hungry, Percy!
Annabeth Chase, beloved baddie and best friend slash crush of our favorite titular character, has gone missing. And the aforementioned Percy Jackson goes on a quest along with
two Katniss Everdeen impersonators, a goat man, and a former pine cone.
Along the way, the gang ends up at the Hoover Dam, where they encounter some spooky, scary skeleton monsters. Percy, while trying to escape from these skeleton monsters, ends up on an elevator, where someone sneezes behind him. Now Percy, in full danger mode, assumes it's a monster, slashes his sword towards the sounds. Enter Rachel Elizabeth Dare. Rachel is mortal, so Riptide is absolutely unable to harm her in the slightest. However, despite being immortal, Rachel can see that Percy is holding a sword, something that mortals aren't supposed to do thanks to the magical mist that hides the mythical world from their view. Normally, mortals would assume that Riptide is like a baseball bat or a gun, I guess. That happened in The Lightning Thief. But Rachel, despite being a mortal and not being a half-blood, can see through the mist. This is actually a really great way that Rick, as a writer, introduces something that was hinted at earlier in the series. It is teased throughout the series that Sally, Percy's mom, can see through the mist, and it is later confirmed. Rachel, as a character, introduces us to the ideas that A, sometimes mortals can see through the mist, and B, these mortals typically have lives that are more entangled with the mythological side of the world than the average mortals. But put a pin in that, we'll get back to it. The Rachel problem starts a book later in Battle of the Labyrinth. Percy runs into her while starting at a new school, and as often happens to Percy, he gets attacked by monsters. Rachel, who never saw the monsters as anything human to begin with, recognizes them for what they are and is able to help Percy escape this problem. And as payback, she's like, hey, you owe me an explanation, and she writes her number on his hand. And this is where the problem starts, and it's not Rachel that is technically the problem, even though we as the fandom are like, Rachel is the problem. The problem is Percy memorizes her number. One thing you have got to realize about us as a fandom of Percy Jackson fans is we love Percy and Annabeth. We love Percy, we love Annabeth. We love Percy and Annabeth. We care about them not only as characters, but as individuals. And every reader, or, okay, at least every female reader.
Honestly, I had no idea it was even a thing until season 4 when she kissed him. And even then, I was like, maybe they're just really close friends.
Waiting for them to get together. And so it's not just like an annoying ship culture thing where it's like, no, how dare you put another character with my favorite character? It's like, no, they're best friends and now they're fighting, and I don't like it when they're fighting because both of them deserve to be happy because they've just been through it, you guys. So when Rachel comes in and starts stealing away some of Percy's attention, we as an audience start to hate her. And if we're being honest, that is absolutely not fair to Rachel. A lot of us, I would say, and assume and hope that it's not just me, have liked someone who has not only not liked them back, but started liking someone else. And it's rarely the other girl or guy's fault, but because we feel like it's not fair, we blame that other person. It's very high school and very immature, but it's also very relatable. It also does not help that Rachel is a big part of the story for this book. Being mortal and having clear sight, which is what they call the ability to see through the mist, Rachel is one of the only characters we know of that can help our trio get through the labyrinth. And Percy ain't gonna put his mom through that. Now, if Rachel was just some girl that Percy happened to casually be friends with and only slightly know, it would be fine. We'd be able to admit, okay, we're being a bit dramatic. We don't even know her. We're not mentioning Rachel again. We're never going to talk about her. We're going to forget she exists as a character. But no. At the end of Battle of the Labyrinth, Percy is celebrating his birthday and he's like alone because, you know, all of his friends are on quests or at camp or at different parts of the world because they don't live at camp or in New York. And Percy's just like sitting there thinking, wow, I am so alone right now. And while Percy is thinking about, his half-blood friends who are off doing things, he thinks about how he regrets that he didn't invite Rachel to come hang out because he was a chicken. And so whatever denial the readers did have is completely out the window now. Now, I want you to remember one of the frustrating things about this, thinking about Rachel at the end of the book, is Annabeth kisses Percy in this book. And I bet he reflects on that too and is like, yeah, I don't know what that was because Percy's just classy like that. But why are we also talking about Rachel? Not in defense of Percy. When he gets back for the first time seeing Annabeth after that happens, and he's attending his own funeral, Annabeth is less than pleased to see him, even though she's like, oh my gosh, you're alive. Oh my gosh, you're an idiot. So I get the mixed signals thing, especially when Rachel is pretty clear about liking Percy, and that would probably make, you know, that whole thing easier. But yeah, mixed signals are not in the favor of Percibeth. Again, I just want to point out, Rachel is not the problem. The fan Wikipedia actually says multiple times, much to Annabeth's dismay, in regards to Percy and Rachel, which I think is really funny, but also, that's not Rachel's fault. That's just feelings. Annabeth's feelings were dismay. Rachel's feelings were infatuation for Percy, and Percy is just confused. None of the feelings are Rachel's fault. She doesn't know Annabeth likes Percy. She doesn't know Percy likes Annabeth. Percy doesn't know Percy likes Annabeth. A lot of the frustrations of Rachel as a character stem from the fact that Percy is kind of clueless. And all of our frustrations that should be aimed at Percy, if we're being honest, end up aimed at Rachel because we've known Percy longer and we're like, well, we can't be mad at him, so let's be mad at the new girl. Rachel is a character who, to the reader, represents an obstacle between Percy and Annabeth and them getting together. And we as humans don't like obstacles, especially ones that stand in the way of our favorite characters. Now, despite this, Rick does give us this absolute baller moment in Battle of the Labyrinth. Even if you are like the biggest Rachel hater, you gotta admit this moment is epic, okay?
You'll never escape me. I'll rise and the Olympians will fall. It will be a new golden age. You'll see. Oh my gosh, he just won't shut up. I know. How dare he monologue and chase us at the same time? You'll see. You'll all see. Dude, ow! Did you just throw a hairbrush at a Titan? What? It was the only thing I could think of. I love you. What? What? What?
Okay, so the problem got worse. We literally start The Last Olympian with Rachel. She has invited Percy to go to St. Thomas with her and her parents, but Percy isn't able to because, you know, there's a war starting. They're like sitting there like on the beach, just like hanging out and chatting, and Rachel is flirting with him when Charlie Beckendorf shows up and is like, hey, time to go on mission. And then Rachel kisses Percy, and Percy's first thing he says to Charlie, I'm pretty sure it's like the first thing out of his mouth, is like, don't tell Annabeth. Later, Chiron tells Percy that he had withheld important information from Percy as to not ruin his time as a regular person with Rachel, which just pisses Annabeth off. She's like, what? You were hanging out with Rachel? A war is starting and you were hanging out with the redheaded girl again? So Percy has a dream that tells us a couple of things. One, Rachel is frustrated that he's not coming with her. Like, she's like throwing darts at a picture of his face, frustrated. And let's be honest, if I had aim when I was in high school, I would have done the same thing. Two, Rachel's dad says that Rachel has been having these like really bad headaches and dreams, and we don't know what that means yet. And lastly, Rachel has painted a picture of Luke when he was younger, and she has a picture of the upcoming Battle of Manhattan. Like, the big end of the world, end of the thing that's happening, she's painted it. So, fast forward, Rachel almost dies in a helicopter ride, and Annabeth saves her life, like the baddie that she is. And Rachel tells Percy, she's like, you're actually not the hero here, which confuses the heck out of Percy. F's in the chat for Percy. Fast forward again to the end of the battle. We're on Mount Olympus, and Rachel is like full of understanding now. You know, just like when a character just like gets upgraded and they're like, I understand everything now. And so like she kind of understands more of what her purpose as a person and as a character in the series is. And she tells Percy, she's like, yeah, I liked you because you were like opening the door for me to get to the magical world, but like That was it. She's like, yeah, our fates were intertwined. And Percy realizes that he's basically getting dumped, even though they weren't really together. F's in the chat for Percy. My guy did not need to be going through this. Okay, so Rachel then like flees to Camp Half-Blood, and she's like, I'm gonna go talk to the Oracle. And everyone's like, she's gonna die. The Oracle's been glitching like crazy. But no, that's not what happens. She becomes the new Oracle. She accepts both what is a gift and a curse. As we've learned from favorite prophetic character Bruno, we don't talk about him, you guys. Rachel then like spews out a prophecy, and it's the prophecy of the Seven, which is like the Kickstarter for the next series, Heroes of Olympus. Annabeth and Percy both come to terms with her as a person and her involvement in their lives. They are like, all right, cool. I think they literally have a moment where Annabeth's just like, hey Rachel, like everyone's just chill now. So why is Rachel important?
Oh, because she's the Oracle and she gave the prophecy that led to Heroes of Olympus.
Not exactly. And wording it like that makes it feel like she's a plot device, which isn't technically true because a literal corpse was doing it before her. She just has a personality. Rachel as a character represents to Percy the opposite of what Percy represents to her. So she words it in the series. Hey, Percy, you were like the door to the magical world. That's why you were important to me. Like that's the crux of whatever feelings I had for you. The opposite of that is Percy never gets to be normal. Every single book we are like, oh look, Percy's at normal life. Percy has school. Percy has had this much time of being normal, and immediately it gets interrupted. Percy's life will never be normal. He will never be mortal. He will never not be interrupted by monsters or conflict or one of the gods asking him to do a favor for him. And when he's with Rachel, he forgets that because Rachel is normal. To him, Rachel represents normalcy. What if my life wasn't crazy? What if I wasn't at risk of dying? What if I didn't have to do these stupid things because of some stupid prophecy? What if I had a chance to be normal? There's another character in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series that represents the pool of a life outside of danger, but that is another video for another day, and I'm not going to get into it. Rachel specifically represents a normal life, a life away from monsters and danger, where Percy gets to be a normal teenager. Something he's never had before. I think, and this is a tangent from my script, so I apologize to me editing this. The show does a really good job at this because we don't see a lot of Percy when he was younger in the books. We get references to things, but it's not like here's what it was like. And every single time we see young Percy in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians Disney Plus show, we see something going wrong. We see, oh, he's not normal, and he's made to feel like he's not normal because he's not normal. He fits in a different world. But the normal world is looking at him and going, yeah, no, we can't accept him to this school because he's not right. Which must suck. So to imagine Percy at, 15, 16, finding someone who finally makes him feel like he can be normal and like he's not a freak. Wild. Insane. Rachel's purpose as a character in reference to Percy as a character is representing a different road his life could have gone down if he wasn't a half-blood. Or at least that's her purpose as far as the first series goes. Rachel, like many of our important characters, appears in the follow-up series, Series. The other books, these are being written without any friction, because remember, Annabeth is chill with Rachel, Rachel's chill with Annabeth. I don't think Rachel was ever really unchill with Annabeth, and Percy isn't feeling awkward about either being near each other anymore. Rachel is no longer a threat to the Percy-Beth relationship because they are the strongest relationship I have ever read. Oh my gosh. And now she is just allowed to exist as herself, a character in her own right, and now we're going to just like speed run through the rest of her involvements. In The Lost Hero, Rachel is at camp. We first see her in the Hera cabin. She's just kind of like chanting by herself. Then she gets hijacked by Hera, everyone's favorite. Hera uses Rachel to deliver a word to Piper being like, you have to come free me. And then like, I think both of them pass out. I know for a fact Piper passes out because when Piper wakes up, Rachel is there and she's like, I am so sorry. I don't know what that was. You did not deserve that. That must have been so scary. I am so sorry. And then Rachel also like just like sits and talks with her about like her fears and stuff. Like Piper's sitting there being like, Jason doesn't even remember who I am and I thought we were in a whole relationship. And Rachel's like, wow, that must be so hard. Like genuinely helping her through. Like Rachel's an actual person with feelings and thoughts and a personality and not just a character to be hated. Rachel also confirms to Camp Half-Blood that the prophecy of the Seven has started, and she gives a prophecy for the quest that Jason, Piper, and Leo go on in this book. Rachel is referenced in Mark of Athena twice, first by Annabeth, who refers to the conflict from the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, I think to Piper, if I'm not mistaken, and next we have a mention from Chiron, who is like, yeah, she's working with Ella the Harpy, who is another prophetic character, to stop the incoming Roman invasion. In House of Hades, we have more mentions from Percy and Annabeth about Rachel from the plot of the first book. They're talking about this while they're in Tartarus.
Like the fish sauce.
Which is like a weird place to be discussing your former drama. They later decide to write a message to Rachel that they send to Camp Half-Blood using a shrine to Hermes that is in Tartarus for some reason. Rachel has a conversation with Reina, Octavian, and the Roman army where she gives them Annabeth's message and is trying to like ease some of the tension between the two camps. Octavian does not believe she is the oracle of anything, which she then, you know, spews out a prophecy. Very well timed, I might add. In Blood of Olympus, we see Rachel meeting with a bunch of the camp counselors. At the end, she ends up going to Camp Jupiter to try and use her gifts there to help the Roman camp. Now, Rachel is more important in the Trials of Apollo. She appears in both the first and the last book of the series, and because the entire series is, you know, Apollo and about the prophecies and the oracles, she's kind of important. With Apollo now being mortal, Rachel has a lot to lose if he doesn't succeed. She and Apollo talk about the lack of prophecies, and she urges him to free the Grove of Dodona so she can use her gifts again. At the end of the book, Rachel encourages Apollo to go and free the other oracles. She even offers to go with him, which he refuses because it's too dangerous and she is technically mortal. Rick! Give Rachel a quest. Please give Rachel a quest. It would be so fun to see her on a quest book. I'm not saying we need Rachel POV, I just need her in the book. In Tower of Nero, it is revealed that every time Apollo freed an oracle, Rachel has been given a vision, which she has the paintings to prove. We get a group trip to Rachel's place where she insists on helping and gives us a lore dump for the end of the series. And she gets hijacked by Python, like the big bad, and she passes out. And then immediately her whole estate is like exploding and the gang is attacked. Rachel kind of acts as a guide in the series and in this book in particular. She has at least two different one-on-one conversations with Apollo where she's like the wise one, even though she's like 16, 17, maybe 18 at the oldest. Actually, it does make sense that she's the one who's like, this is what it's like to be human, because she's the most human of any of the characters at camp, because she's mortal instead of half-blood. Huh, I didn't write that into the script. Y'all got that one for free. Apollo actually ends up admitting to her how scared he is concerning all of this, and Rachel, on top of being a prophecy giver, also gets the plot device of being a good friend and good person and a good listener. Be like Rachel. Rachel also ends up being a catalyst for defeating Nero. There's like this MacGuffin thing that they need to get, and she gets it, and she's like holding it in front of the Emperor and is like, I hold your future in my hand. She ends up giving the item to Apollo because he's the main character, and she throws her hairbrush at another bad guy. At the end of Trials of Apollo, Rachel gets her powers back and she gives a prophecy to Will and Nico, which sets up the Sun and the Star. And the Sun and the Star, Rachel comes to camp and she tells Nico that she has said this prophecy 12 different times, something that Chiron has never seen before. Usually it's like, give the prophecy, we're done. Maybe like we have a repeat moment because like the thing is coming to pass. I think she does that with the prophecy of the Seven, where like she gives it at the end of The Last Olympian, but then she gives it again in The Lost Hero. 12 times is a lot. That's very dramatic. Rachel tells Nico that she is assuming that the reason she keeps spewing out this prophecy is because it's important. He and Will need to leave now. And that is the last we see of her for writing as of right now. So as a writer, I really like Rachel as a character for what she represents. She serves as a reminder of normal. It's funny that the audience of Percy Jackson hates Rachel so much because she's us. She's the normal one. And maybe that's why we don't like her, is because we don't like reminders that we're normal and we want to be half-bloods. She serves as a reminder of the mortal, normal life that Percy can't have, but a part of him wants. She also happens to double as a third member of a love triangle, although unlike most love triangles, yeah, I'm talking about the whole Hunger Games thing, there isn't really a wrong person in this love triangle. Percy's just confused, and then two girls like him. Also, it's not really a triangle because Annabeth and Rachel weren't friends, so that like the lines wouldn't be fully filled out, but I digress. I think we as an audience lean towards disliking Rachel because we just really like Percy and Annabeth. I mean, they're so good. It's not that Rachel is bad as a character. It's just, yeah, she's a 10, but Percy and Annabeth are 1 million each. I think that's where a lot of the hate comes from. And maybe I'm just speaking for myself on all of this, but I have the feeling that I'm not. I think that this is something common and a phenomenon within the fandom for a reason. And I wanted to talk about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. It has been a while since I've scripted a video like this, which is probably why I wasn't really good at sticking to the whole script. That's fine, gotta let my personality shine through. I really enjoyed making this video. As I mentioned, I am an independent writer. My next book, Aria Dalton Didn't Sign Up for This, comes out February 21st. It'll be on lulu.com along with all of my other books. I have them in physical copies, and as of right now, I am working on getting all of them in ebooks. Aria Dalton Didn't Sign Up for This is about a girl with superpowers who runs into a supervillain and finds herself with a nemesis. Think the Perry and Doofenshmirtz plot of Phineas and Ferb meets Percy Jackson. And that is what you have. If it sounds like something you'd like, it'll be on lulu.com on February 21st, or you can follow my Instagram at officialjustinstrikes to learn more about it. All of that is linked in the bio down below. As always, you can subscribe over here. If you like more Greek mythology or Riordan related videos, I have them here. I highly recommend the video of me reacting to Epic the Musical Act 2. It is one of my favorites. I will catch you on the next one.